In the building, we do need to talk about the Red Wings game last night. And not so much, I mean, the game itself, right? Great game. We sit here and do a 15-minute, quote, breakdown on it. There were some seminal moments in that game. Obviously, Dylan Larkin got the gate for the cross-check, I guess, to the face. And, look, you know, I know, D-Mac, you were active on social media about it.
Well, and here's my point. And as I was tweeting it, and it wasn't, yes, in 2023, in this day and age, to be responsible for your stick. But how many times have I seen other teams be irresponsible with theirs and not even have a call? On this last road trip, there was an incident. Jonathan Huberdeau in Calgary cross-checked Dylan Larkin, the side of the head, which I didn't think was a major penalty, but I thought it was a penalty all the same. This Larkin, yes, responsible for the stick. I would say not in the face, more so in the side of the head, up underneath. It looked
bad.
Worse than it was, but the intention. But I go back to, because when I played, right, the temperature of the league would understand, going back to the Jamie Benn off the face-off, to all the things that Dylan Larkin has suffered, and being a leader. He's easy to find out there. He's the captain and the best player on this team for a long time, so don't tell me you don't know who this guy is. The stuff Matthew Joseph from Tampa Bay did to him last year at the beginning of the year, that he got kicked out for sucking him after he got hit from behind.
That was awesome.
Just these little incidents, right? This is a perfect opportunity back in the day, and I'm going to use a guy like a Bill McCreary, well-respected or something, to grab Larkin and say, hey, you know what? That was... And look at Oshie, see that Oshie continue to play right on the power play, right? 4-minute penalty, right? And say, Dylan, I know this is it. And why do I say this? Just because in back of Dylan's mind, that sort of, he thinks he's like a target or doesn't get a call. This shows that I see you, right? And this is sort of the break. Now, this is all the stuff that I'm talking about is sort of behind the scenes and sort of the old boy network of how you manage the game behind the game. But by the letter of the law, okay, whatever else, but just call it consistently when it happens to us. That's all it is. Now, to the bigger point, this also gave a great opportunity to test by fire in the biggest game of the year for different guys to step up. And boy, did they.
Boy, did they.
And not your usual suspects. I mean, a guy who's been hot of late, and you see why he doesn't come out of the lineup. Spenny, I think he said this yesterday. Somebody asked, why is Zadina coming out of the lineup? Because you're not removing Suter, because he's on a 3-game goal streak. Now he's got 5 in 4 games. You know, and then Robert Hagg, who has played really well since coming back from injury, and that defensive guy, you find a way to win this game. Everything going against them. In the past, you wouldn't win. If I'm looking at signs that why things are different, that's the consistency of what Derek Lalonde has been preaching. Now, what's the beauty, Neil? The beauty is you look at the schedule. You're 2 points out of the playoff, 1 point behind Pittsburgh, right? Same amount of games, 56. The teams that are in the playoffs have 60 games played. You have 4 games in hand, which is the beauty of why you took care of this road trip, coming back 4-1, because you're having 2 of your toughest games, even though you're playing at home, with the Rangers and Tampa, who arguably 2 of the best teams in the league. Would you say, Neil?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So the fact that you do have leeway in case you do lose these games. Now, other teams can keep going, but that's where the game's in hand. But if you do win these games and keep this going, it's one of those things is you don't know what you have and you just keep going out there and doing it. That's where like a lot of the leadership, and just keep going out and preach and preach and preach. And now what we're seeing, I always go back to, is what Derek Lalonde said at the beginning of the season. It takes a long time to implement a system. And what Steve Eisman said in January, that this team is better than the record shows. Let's see what we do when we get healthy.
And D-Mac, that's the thing, right? And I hear this around town on different sports media entities, where all of a sudden they're hockey experts now, and they're breaking down the number of points to go to the playoffs. What they can't tell you, D-Mac, is what I'm going to ask you. What's different? Not, oh, they gelled. They spent some time together and they gelled, or Steve Yzerman signed some free agents. What's different on the I want to get geeky for 2 minutes. I know we may lose some people and stuff like that. I understand that, but this is sports talk for two right now. Neil the fan, like the Ask D-Mac thing. D-Mac on the ice. Why does it work now to whereas why didn't it work in December? It's not just
they're more
gel.
on the same page, and what you see, what happens with repetition at the highest level is now guys aren't thinking. They're reacting. They're playing for one another because they trust one another. One of the big things too, right? And we talked about it. You mentioned shorthanded goal last night, right? So the 5-on-5 power play, Washington, we got a shorthanded goal, then they got a power play goal. It's a wash. Right, you'll take that on killing a 5-minute major. Face-offs, right? The big thing, though, is that the shots that you're sort of giving up, you're giving up from the outside and doing a great job of crashing back and clearing out, right?
And you preached that, D-Mac. You said from the moment this started this year, you will see the shot total go up, but you will see the quality slot chance go down.
Well, that's because I'm just reiterating what I hear the coach say with the system that they're trying to play. This is the benefit of it, right? This is the benefit of it. And here's the thing. They're feeling each other, right? And here's the one where you have, right? Where you talk about veteran presence in the dressing room, where they're valuable, the Cops, the Sherratts, the Perrons that you brought in. Because your young guys are looking around going, is this for real? Are we supposed to be doing it? And these guys have been there before going, yeah, let's keep going, keep grinding with different guys coming out, coming back. You know, it was great to see Jacob Verana back in the lineup last night. You know, the big thing I think that, and I saw an article, and I believe it was The Athletic, but I'm not sure, about, and I just saw this quote, about the things that you don't realize, the responsibilities that Mo Seider. I think Mo Seider too. Mm-hmm. How about the comfortability of him coming into that role? Right? We could say earlier in the season that he wasn't playing his best hockey, but he was also expanding his role, his time on the ice even more and even more. And I think that now you're seeing him understand that. You know, the way they've mixed things up. You look at Jake Wallman, who's not your biggest guy, but I see him face to face with one of the toughest guys in the league, and Tom Wilson not backing down yesterday.
I'll pause you right there, D-Mac, because Wallman's the guy, like, again, for me, that is really started to pick up viewership of the Red Wings a lot. I mean, to where it's an appointment view now. Wallman's the guy to me that's the name that you never hear about, but I always hear Ken Daniels saying his name.
Yeah. And he's only gotten better. And this is what Steve Yzerman had thought and expected, even though he got Wallman and he was hurt when he came. But it's the skating ability, right? And the ability. You know, the guys that... Why this happens is because, yeah, your best players are playing at a different level in Dylan Larkin, but your role players are playing up a different level. How many times have I talked about Rasmussen and his development? But what about guys like you mentioned, Wallman, who's on the first pairing, Osterley, local kid who doesn't get a lot of stuff, but the Wallmans and the Osterleys, they can skate. They can skate and they can move the puck, and I think it's the confidence and everybody buying in to the system, the team system, which is allowed. And again, what are the two epitomes? It's been the Dylan Larkin / Husso show. Husso was on his game again last night when he needed to be. Hence, you have a victory. This is becoming more consistent, right? More consistent 60-minute game, more consistent winning. That's exactly what is. So you're seeing, I believe, the hard work that they put in and all the things that we've heard throughout is now what we're seeing. It reminds me a lot of watching the Lions this year.
And here's you brought up Ville Husso, and that you guys know, right? That's my guy. Where I've talked about him a lot this year, and my thoughts about Nedeljkovic are out there and they're well known. For me, Husso, yes, I think does get some credit, but D-Mac. And I know Larkin's taken it to another level. I understand that. But none of this is possible without Ville Husso. You have to have a goaltender. And I'm not saying
yeah, because look at why aren't we having the same conversation we were at the beginning of the year? Because you got somebody in there who's doing the job.
And I'm not saying he's like Vezina, the Vasilevskis, and those. He's not at that level. But he's a grinder, man.
When he's on, he's on.
And when he's on, he's on. And side to side, he's elite.
His lateral mobility is
side to side. He is elite.
And here's the one thing: is you just want him every time. You want the confidence that he goes in the net. Is that he gives you a chance to win. And that's the one thing with Chris Osgood, Right? No matter what you thought, didn't matter how we weren't worried about how many goals he was going to let in. We just knew we had a chance to win because he's going to fight.
And that's it. That he's a grinder, and you got a shot. Tammy Chin says, "What is different? The culture, the team is coming together." And she also says Husso has stepped up, and to me, Husso's been what he's been. I mean, again, he is not elite. He's not. But he to me is the one thing that this team sorely needed. You needed a competent goaltender, an NHL goaltender. That's what you needed.
I mean, I sound like a broken record, but how was it built in Tampa?
Yeah.
Vasilevsky. You know, you got to be Derek Lalonde. He comes in, tells you, got to keep the puck out of the net. We're going to concentrate on the defensive scheme, stuff like this. So the guys playing hard around him and eliminating those second chances, odd man rushes and stuff, has helped them out also. So they're playing for each other and they're playing a system. Now you see the system start the 1-1-3 and the 3-1-3 being implemented.
Speaking of great goaltenders, did you hear Ozzy last night when Keats asked him how many goals Ovechkin got on him? He's like, just one. He's like, just one, right? He's like, and Keats is like, yeah, one. He's like, all right, what do I win?
WoodwardSports.com chat there, Brandon Katz says Washington has been hot garbage without Ovechkin, and that is true.
Yes.
But here's
you
the
have
deal.
to take care of the hot garbage that's fed to you.
Especially on the road, and anyone will tell you this. Anyone who's been around sports, it's not who you play, D-Mac. It's when you play them. And you don't have to apologize for it.
And those, and you got a defending Stanley Cup netminder and guys that have won cups. It's a huge game, and you're battling. So I don't care why or how. You got to get it done.
Yeah, Jack Harrington says Wings versus Rangers will be a good game. And this is what's great about it. This is what's great about getting in the mix. And I think we've forgotten this because, again, it has been a decade since this town won a playoff series. Let that sink in. It has been a decade since that happened. So, again, we're brand new to this one more time. Guess what? You won, and it's cool, and it felt good. And Thursday we do it all again.
Right. Come up for air, breathe, get a sandwich, go to the bathroom, then you're back at it. Mm-hmm. Right? And do it again and keep shocking the world.
Yeah. And remember too, like it's still a hodgepodge. I know everyone's talking about the games at hand and things like that, but remember, Buffalo has a game in hand against
but
you.
Here's the thing,
you know,
this is
like
where
it's
you
still a
bank the
hodgepodge.
points. You don't take it for granted. I'm just telling you what you've set yourself up just in case.
Yeah. And you know that back-to-back road games against Ottawa, that's lurking as well. So it's all of that, guys. There was no finish line last night because there's still 20-plus games to go. So there is no finish line. And guess what? Thursday's not a finish line, but it's another must-win, if that makes any sense. That's the nature of this. We forgot, D-Mac. We forgot all about this stuff.
And you know what it is, too? What's different, Neil, is that, for lack of a better term, this team is playing playoff hockey.
They are. And it's going to be going on for the next 20 games.